There, I got rid of it. All right, thanks.
Um, I'm thinking about what would happen sometimes on breaks during meditation intensives at the Zen Center in Austin. And I'd take walks around the neighborhood to stretch my legs. And sometimes I'd see something ordinary and it would strike me as extraordinary. Just like I remember watching ants on an ant mound, just kind of being uh, amazed and delighted by them in a kind of childlike way. So
Exactly. Ants are amazing, aren't they?
I think so.
I mean, the only thing that makes them not amazing is our lack of interest. Yeah. And I like that you mentioned a childlike way because this is, in some sense, inviting you to have a mind that's more like a child. Children haven't yet numbed their mind with familiarity in the sense that they already know things. That's their beauty. You know, their minds are like totally open to new things. And certainly like a child, you can like be totally fascinated with a hairy caterpillar or a mound of ants. And it's interesting that it takes a retreat, right?
It was on the break,
Yeah. It's on the break, but
not on the mat,
your mind was
on the
already
cushion.
in a sort of altered state, but I would say it was altered back to what it was more meant to be from a numbed out state, which is what we kind of are in most of the time as adults. You know, the adult state is kind of a semi numb state. We've closed down just a whole lot of neural pathways. We've closed down a lot of doors in order to be adults and focused on work and focused on just kind of that paring down of what we think is important. And children haven't done that paring down. And when you meditate, and especially when you do a sesshin or you do an intensive meditation practice, it does open the mind back up again to that childlike state where things are luminous. I think the truth is they are luminous. It's that we've shut our own light down. We can't take in the luminosity of the world or ourselves. We've dimmed the light. It's kind of sad. I'm not sure that it's, you know, for whatever it's worth, adulthood is necessary in some sense, you know. Um, but it's nice. It's nice. It's more than nice. It's important to sometimes acknowledge what's lost. What's lost when the mind gets so good at being productive, and the mind gets so good at knowing the social rules of adult world,
Hmm.
right? It's nice to acknowledge that something's lost.
I've been having a hard time accessing that sense of awe, and possibly it's because I'm feeling the everydayness and the sort of sameness in my environment, not tons of change or new stimuli. And yet, when it snowed and just being quiet, I mean, there was a sense of awe in noticing the icicles or the whiteness or very simple things. But once I start my day, which has been very challenging to do actually, um, it sort of goes away. It sort of becomes more like chore. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to reconnect with you and with the class. Um, I'm not sure what is the trigger, or if there's an acceptance somewhat involved in accepting sort of just the isness of every day, which then might open up moments of awe. Anyway,
Hmm. I think that's a good point. Accepting the isness of things. I mean, the isness of things is ultimately the biggest wow of all.
I'm not feeling much wow.
You're not feeling much wow.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the heart gets clouded over. We get numb. We get distanced. We stop feeling. It's a hazard. It's a hazard of being human. So, start where you are. You notice when the snow came, things were different. There was something shifted. Um, to some extent, you can choose to notice and wonder. That's the practice. It's not totally in our choice. We never have total control of these things. And, sometimes there are major things clogging up the wonder artery. But to some, you have a measure of power around that. You have a measure of choice.
Some of it has been because I think I'm suffering either long COVID or chronic fatigue. So I find myself just getting up but wanting to sleep, but also some of the wonder is coming in sleep, in dreams. So there's
Mhm.
part of that where the dreams almost seem more bizarre but more interesting than a lot of what's been going on. So that's been
Mhm.
interesting too. Just sort of wanting to be more in dream state, but of course it can't as an adult just stay in dream state.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So let's see. Kylie, you had raised your hand a while back. Do you
Yeah,
want?
so to your point about, doing like an intensive, less than a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, I did the Shambhala meditation intensive in Northampton, which was such a amazing experience. I mean, to your point also about like pausing and just letting things come up. I mean, between sitting in the same spot for hours and like feeling the pain but not getting up and like just breathing through it and then separating your thoughts from your breath, very powerful. um and so I think because a lot of us live such busy lives, and sometimes we move so quickly we can't even keep up with our thoughts, or we numb out in a multitude of ways. Coming back to ourselves, being conscious of our thoughts, slowing down can impact us in such different ways, whether that's like like almost an excruciating type of thought because we haven't been able to feel it, or feelings of happiness. So, and I think sometimes wonder, that childlike wonder in our lives as adults, becomes squashed by, our culture and expectations that are put on us unfairly, or childhood wounds, or wounds that continue to fester as adults. So I think a goal of mine for this class is to just continue to breathe through things that come up when I'm able to take a minute, and to fully engage in this class and, actively try to journal afterwards and see what comes up, because I think it's so necessary for everyone, if possible, to slow down and encounter and wonder and come back to their inner childlike state.
And feel.
And feel. That was the biggest one I forgot, obviously.
Yeah,
to
feel.
feel.
Even if it doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Even
and to
if it
breathe
doesn't feel
through
good.
it and to encounter it and wonder through it. It doesn't have to be in like a traumatic way, or like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be heavy. It can be very, very light. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I think Tom and then Chad.
So, yeah, along those similar lines, I think about being open, which is the prerequisite to feeling and experiencing and being with what is, to allow the awe to happen, because it happens naturally, right? There's no effort to it. It just happens when I am in a state of openness and receptivity, then I can feel and experience the wonder of all of this that we're in. But what gets in the way is, fear of being that open and fear of being that receptive.
Oddly enough, yes, that's true.
Yeah. So
yeah, something in us doesn't want to be that sensitive.
Right.
Doesn't want to be that open.
Right. So that's what I wanted to share.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Okay, Chad.
A question arose for me a few minutes ago as people were speaking, and that was, so we're talking about, in a way, being able to see wonder in the ordinary in life, right? And but it's also healthy to have a sense of dynamism, and I think our culture takes that way too much, to the far pendulum swing of that. But I'm a very slow person. I'm a very, like yourself, Mark, very monotask oriented person. And I feel I have a lot of wonder, but I don't have a great deal of dynamism. And I'm just curious, the question arose for me, like, I can appreciate and experience wonder and appreciation for the ordinary in life. I'm a very simple person, very minimalistic in my material life. But I'm just wondering where that meets dynamism in a wholesome way.
Can you say more what you mean by dynamism? Just so I'm sure I know.
Sure. Learning, growing in your career, intellectual stimulation, having skills, learning skills, like always, always learning, always kind of expanding your skills and your experience in life.
Right. So you find there's not enough of that.
I find I don't do well. I don't really know if I can gauge it. If I say not enough, what am I gauging it against?
Yeah. What is the measure?
Other people's ideas of it, or our society's ideas of it. I've struggled with kind of my sense of livelihood. What's my correct livelihood?
Okay.
And, what skills and experience and talents I have to bring to that. And so I guess somewhere along those lines, if that answers your question.
Yeah. So I'll just pose a question back. What if there weren't any problem?
What if there weren't any problem?
Yeah, you have a hard time finding your career track, and those other things that you mentioned. Just for the moment, just try it on. What if there wasn't a problem? I'm not arguing that there isn't or there is. asking you to
But
try
if
that
there
on.
wasn't a problem, then there would be no problem.
Then there'd be no problem. Then you could be just the way you are.
Right.
Yeah. And it's my experience that some people do have a hard time finding out where they live, where they are in the world of work,
Mm.
where they belong. It seems to be one of those human things in
Right.
certain people.
But you need it as well. I mean, we need.
You do, and there's a motivation to find it. You need it. But yeah, what I suggest is there's something there in that experience of not knowing your place. If you open to it, there's something potentially there to learn. And of course, you said that learning maybe is one of those dynamisms that you don't have enough of, but um, how can I put this from the ego's perspective? A good ego is able to get you what you want. It knows what it wants and is able to get you what you want and control things. And generally, socially, good egos are desirable in that sense. It's kind of what people are taught to want. It's one of the ways they're meant to measure themselves. But in everybody's life, I found there's some kind of glitch where the ego doesn't work well, where you can't get what you want. You don't know how to get what you want. You don't even know what you want. There's there's moments of confusion. There's moments of not being competent. There's moments of not seeming to function very well in this egoic way. Maybe all of those are also important because maybe there's more to life than being a well-functioning ego. You hear what I'm saying? It's a very different perspective. You're not likely to get many places. And I don't mean to say it by way of dismissing your suffering, because I think it is suffering to not know quite where you belong in the world of work. It does cause problems.
Mm.
So I don't want to dismiss the suffering of it. But even that suffering, I think it has a place. The suffering of when you can't quite make your ego work right, be effective, be the effective ego that somehow you think would make everything go well in the world. Take a bow, honor that moment, see what it's there for if you actually have some welcome for it. Just some measure of welcome for exactly where you're at and for exactly what seems to stymie you. There's a scripture verse that I've always loved. And now I'm forgetting it exactly how it goes. It's the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Who are the builders? They're the ego. What do they reject? What are they rejecting us? All the things that actually are very important. Many things that are very important. Many of the things that will actually link us up to other people. Many of the things that will do amazing things for us are rejected by us and by society more broadly as somehow like they shouldn't be there. They're cursed. So that's just the reflections that are coming, not knowing a lot about your situation, just from what little you said.
Yeah.
Take what's useful and leave the rest.
I'm curious how the stone that gets rejected ends up getting incorporated back in as the cornerstone, and by who?
By whom? Yes, that's a good question. If it's not the builders, by whom? All right, we are at the end of our time, folks.